The movie opens with Stephen, a cardiothoracic surgeon who has just completed an open-heart surgery. He meets 16-year-old Martin, whose father was Stephen's patient and died while he was operating on him. Stephen hangs out with Martin out of guilt and because he feels sorry for him. Their meeting comes to an end, and Stephen gives Martin a watch as a gift. Stephen goes back home to his wife Anna and their children, Kim and Bob. During dinner, Stephen tells them that he spent a day with Martin, and Anna suggests that he invite Martin one day for dinner. Stephen and Anna go to bed, where we find out that Stephen has a weird fetish for anesthesia, and he gets excited when Anna acts unconscious. The next day, Stephen finds out that Martin wants to see him, which angers him because he is busy. He tells Martin to avoid coming unannounced. Martin promises him he won't do that and explains that he just came to show him the new strap he got for the watch that Stephen gave him. A few days later, Stephen meets Martin and invites him for lunch. Later, Martin arrives with gifts for everyone, and after lunch, he goes to hang out with Kim and Bob. Martin gets interested in Kim, and the two of them go for a walk. After that, they go back to the house. Martin tells the family that it would be good if they came to his house for dinner sometime. Martin calls Stephen and says he has already told his mother that he is coming to dinner the following evening. Stephen goes to dinner, and Martin insists Stephen stay to watch a movie after the meal, but he leaves partway through to go to bed, and his mother gets amorous with Stephen. She says Martin wants it as much as she does, and Stephen leaves. The next day, Martin goes to the hospital to see Stephen again. Martin complains that he has chest pains, and that it could be hereditary, as his father had died due to a weak heart. Stephen gives him a checkup and discovers that everything is fine. Martin then invites Stephen again for dinner, but Stephen refuses immediately. Martin then tells him that his mother would love that she has feelings for Stephen, and that they would be a nice couple. Stephen reminds Martin that he is happily married and has 2 kids. After this, Martin's demands for Stephen's attention grow increasingly frequent and desperate, and Stephen stops responding. One night, Kim arrives home late and tells Stephen that Martin gave her a ride. Stephen, who just wants to get away from this weird kid, is visibly upset by that. Then we see Martin outside Stephen's house. The next day, Stephen gets ready for work and notices that Bob is still in his bed. He goes to check on him, and Bob informs him that his legs are numb. Stephen thinks that Bob is just messing around and gets angry with him. However, he soon finds out that Bob is serious. Stephen and Anna rush him to the hospital. He recovers during his examination and is sent home, but then the problem relapses and is admitted while more tests are being done. The next day, Stephen and Anna find Martin in Bob's hospital room. Martin tells them that he just came to visit Bob. Anna gives Bob a box of cinnamon donuts, and Martin uses that chance to tell Stephen that he will wait for him in the cafeteria. Stephen meets Martin, who gives him a Swiss Army knife. Out of nowhere, Martin tells Stephen that he needs to balance things in light of his father's death, which had perhaps occurred due to Stephen's negligence as a surgeon. Stephen says that he must kill either Bob, Kim, or Anna, else within a few days they will all die after becoming paralyzed, refusing to eat, and bleeding from the eyes. Stephen gets sick of Martin and has him escorted from the hospital. He goes to check on Bob, and Anna informs him that Bob didn't eat anything. That scares Stephen, who is still thinking about what Martin told him. He tries to force-feed Bob, but luckily Anna stops him. Martin visits Kim, and after spending some time together, Kim reveals that she is in love with him. She strips her clothes and lays them on the bed, but Martin tells her that he needs to go and leaves quickly. Bob's condition is worsening, and after a bunch of examinations, doctors are unable to find the source of his illness, so they agree that it's psychological. Stephen starts thinking that Bob is faking everything. He pulls him out of the wheelchair and starts dropping him on the floor. Stephen sees that this method is not working, so he tells Bob he can admit it if he's faking, and he won't get punished. However, Bob does not confess to anything, and Stephen gets angry. He starts threatening Bob that he will shave his head and that he won't be able to watch TV for 2 months. but Bob honestly tells him that he is not acting. The next day, at a choir rehearsal, Kim falls to the ground and gets hospitalized. She chokes when Stephen tries to make her eat, so she and Bob have to use feeding tubes. Stephen, full of anger, goes to Martin's house to confront him, but the kid is not there. The next day, Kim gets a call from Martin, who tells her that he is outside, and somehow she gets out of the hospital bed and walks to the window to see him, but he is not there. She returns to her bed, and Bob tries to get up, but he just falls to the ground. Anna gets angry at Kim because she talked with Martin, and she takes her phone away. Anna is convinced that Martin has some sort of power, so she visits him to ask why she and her children should suffer for Stephen's mistake. He replies that that is the closest thing he can think of to justice. Stephen consults with doctors, who inform him that they can't find the cause of the sickness that is ravaging his children. They think it's psychological, and they send the kids home. Anna meets with Stephen's colleague, an anesthesiologist who was involved in the operation on Martin's father. She asks him if he can find that particular operation file. He agrees, but tells Anna that she needs to do something for him. Later, she agrees to his blackmailing. And then the anesthesiologist tells her that Stephen needed to have 2 drinks before the operation, and it's probably because of that Martin's father died. She goes back home and tells Stephen to do something about the current situation to help his children. He snaps and sarcastically asks her if she wants him to find some magic objects to stop the curse. That night, Stephen kidnaps Martin and ties him up in a basement. Then he shows Anne what he has done, and he decides to keep quiet about it, hoping that Stephen will persuade Martin to stop whatever he is doing. Stephen then beats and shoots Martin in the leg, but that does not intimidate Martin. He tells Stephen that if he kills him, he will have to dig 4 graves in the graveyard, not 3. So Stephen spares his life. So there is no choice left but to agree to Martin's judgment. The judgment that either of Bob, Kim, or Anna have to die for balancing Stephen's bad karma. The next day, Bob and Kim argue over who their father will choose to kill. Kim asks Bob if she can have his MP3 player if Stephen kills him. Bob doesn't give her an answer, and instead he crawls downstairs to the living room, where he takes a pair of scissors and cuts his hair. Then he proudly crawls to his father to show him the haircut that he always wanted him to have, hoping that he will be proud of him and spare his life. Stephen takes him to bed, and Bob tries to earn his father's favor once again by telling him that he doesn't want to become an ophthalmologist anymore. Instead, he wants to become a cardiologist like his father. Stephen goes outside, where he cries, knowing that he will have to choose to kill one of his family members. The next day, Stephen visits the school principal and asks him which of his children is the best. The principal tells him that both of them are extraordinary. Anna tends to Martin's wounds and brings the children to see him, but she fails to elicit any sympathy. Anna kisses his feet to try to get some sympathy, but Martin's face is cold. As Anna heads out with Bob, Martin tells her that she needs to do something fast because Bob will die soon. That night, Anna goes to her bedroom and tries to seduce Stephen to earn his favor, but he is not in the mood. She tells Stephen that he should kill one of the children, not her, because she can have another child. Kim sneaks into the basement and tries to persuade Martin to heal her so they can run away together. First, she gives him a cigarette, and then she lets him loose. Martin leaves the house, and Kim tries to follow him. Stephen and Anna find out that both Kim and Martin are missing, and soon they find Kim crawling with her knees and bloody hands. They get back into the house, where they tend to her wounds. Kim tells Stephen how much she loves her family and offers her own life to save theirs. Stephen comforts her without saying a word, leaving us to think he is considering her offer. The next day, Bob begins bleeding from his eyes, which Martin had said would happen a few hours before his death. Stephen cleans up the blood from Bob's eyes, thinking about how it's time for him to choose. Stephen then places Bob, Kim, and Anna in a circle. He covers their heads and pulls a woolen hat over his face. He spins around and fires a shot that misses Kim. He lifts the hat and sees that everyone is still alive. Stephen then tries again, and this time he almost kills Anna. The third time proves fatal as Stephen kills Bob in that round. A few days Martin enters the restaurant where he and Stephen used to meet. Stephen, Anna, and Kim are inside, alive and well, which means that Martin was right that Stephen established balance. The family gets up to leave, and Kim, who is healed, glances back before walking out of the door. And the movie ends here, leaving the audience with many questions. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more. Thanks for watching, and see you at the next one.